the deep history of human language has told us about governance challenges. Robert Frost, for instance, reminds us that there is a huge amount of responsibility in what we do, and that there are deep promises to keep. But the promises that governance is trying to keep are always, always changing. They change, and sometimes we don't always recognize them until we go back to them for the first time, the way Eliot suggested we should. I'm particularly fond of this quote because I think it reminds us that there isn't a huge amount of transformation. Sometimes there's a huge amount of continuity in the sort of governance challenges we're dealing with. This, for me, is one way of representing those evolutions and continuity, because governance started off, I think, dealing with basic security and meeting of human needs, but rapidly expanded to start dealing with being cost efficient, making sure that we could manage volatility, manage complexity through the kinds of tools that Jordan talked about in his talk, and also move to being relational, being able to talk to our citizens and hear back from them what exactly they're trying to say. This is, in a sense, the spiral dynamics, or a very basic spiral dynamics version of what governance needs to try and do. And I think we know the place for the first time when we remember that these things don't replace each other. The blue security needs at the start are still there, even while governance needs to do the stuff on the light blue, the diversity, and the purple complexity stuff at the wider end of this diagram. How do we do all of that at the same time? That's the hard work, I think, that comes with managing some of the deep paradoxes and polarities that governance has to deal with every day. And I ask myself very often, how do we do that? What happens when we try and manage polarities and paradoxes? Maybe we don't have to. Maybe, like Whitman reminds us, we need to remember that the contradictions are an essential part of everything that we're trying to do. We just contradict ourselves, and the thing that we then need to have is the largesse to contain the multitudes of the governance work that we're trying to enact. We think a lot about this in Singapore because if we're trying to be managers of complexity or navigators of tension, then really what we need to do is remember that on some things we need to continue exercising command communication. With taxation and the work that the military does, for instance, I'm not sure that we need a huge amount of crowdsourcing. I don't think I want to crowdsource Singaporeans on how much tax they want to pay, for instance. But we need to consult on other things, how we plan urban spaces in the spirit of some of the previous talks. On other things, we don't even need to just consult. We need to build consensus with our citizens. And in some cases, we need to co-create policy with them, whether that's education or what we like to call civil defense or the community gardens efforts that some places are now building up. Does it really matter what kind of tree grows outside a particular part of a city? And does that need to be decided in a central way by governance planners? Or can it be done by communities imbuing the sorts of values that a previous talk also mentioned? I think a lot of this can be done if we remember that we can manage all these contradictions at the same time. Because Fitzgerald reminds us that we can do this. We just need to try and make sure that the first-rate parts of our intelligence come out as strongly as they can. We can manage diversity and pluralism. We can be cultures of excellence at the same time as we try and be tolerant of failure. We can do all of that. We can allow ourselves to be empowered bureaucrats and entrepreneurial all at the same time, if we accept that at heart we are going to be contradictory and paradoxical and just live out as much of that glory as we can. Thank you.